Speaker number one today is Toastmaster Carlos Benitez. Carlos retired from both UPS and the Army National Guard with over 30 simultaneous years of distinguished service. Both careers taught Carlos a lot of life lessons and lifetime habits. Toastmaster Benitez is currently the executive director of the faith-based not-for-profit St. Peter Claver Prison Ministry. One of the many goals of this organization is to positively impact the incarcerated and returning citizens by changing bad habits into good habits. Today's talk is a redo and will be both instructional and entertaining. Let's welcome Toastmaster Benitez with his speech, Charlie Says. Carlos Benitez.
I'm just going to give you a little smidgen of what habits are all about. Sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap habits. Sow habits, reap character. Sow character, and reap your destiny. That comes from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective Leaders, people. We all been there. On New Year's Eve, we make resolutions and promises, but we struggle to keep these commitments. Am I right or wrong?
Right.
Losing weight. The biggest resolution, but by Groundhog Day, I gained 50 pounds instead of losing 50. How can you stay in or out of shape? A result of habits. How can you be happy or unhappy? A result of habits. How can you be a better Toastmaster? A result of habits. You ever wonder why habits become so addictive? For those of you who have, who took my prop here? Oh my gosh. Charlie says, that's Charles Duhigg. He's the author of The Power of Habits. He says habits emerge because the brain is constantly looking for ways to save effort. Let me prove it to you. In the 50s, ads began to inundate commercial people out, people in their homes with their products. One of them was Good and Plenty Candy. Good and Plenty Candy, if you have it, who has it? Every time I say Charlie Says and I quote Charles Duhigg, Good and Plenty, Good and Plenty. That way then you kind of stimulate this commercial. So Choo Choo Charlie was the engineer who was in charge of the locomotive that gave it its power, and his jingle went like this. Charlie says, love my good and plenty. You didn't do it. Charlie says, really rings a bell. Charlie says, love my good and plenty, ain't no other candy that I love so well. You didn't like that? No clapping? Oh my gosh. So left to its own devices, the brain is going to go on automatic pilot. And so let me just instruct you on a little bit. The first habit loop of Charles Duhigg, Power of Habits, is the cue. The cue is the trigger, the signal, the prompt. And it starts this habit loop. And it causes your brain to go into auto motion. The next part is the craving. That's the second step of the loop. It's the motivational force behind the habit. It could either be routine, activities, drills. They could be either physical, they could be mental, they could be emotional. We come to the response. Charlie says, the response is the actual habit you perform, and it takes either the form of a thought or an action. Charlie says, the reward. The response delivers the reward. The reward is the end goal. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Well, let me just go over it one more time. The cue is about noticing the reward. The craving is about wanting the reward. And the response is about obtaining the reward. So, let's go on. Charlie says it takes 21 days. Sorry. Charlie Benitez says that if you want to learn habits, join the military. In the military, we drilled and we drilled and we drilled until we got stuff right. Bang, bang, bang. React to fire. If you wasn't down on the floor within 3 seconds, it was a matter of life and death. Let me demonstrate this a little further. Captain Rufinor, front and center. Harry, double time. Only got 30 seconds.
Reporting is ordered, sir.
About face. Present arms. Order arms. About face. Left face. Left face. Double time. Dismiss. Get out of here. It's been 30 years since he's been retired and he still knows all the drills. So, my wife and I, we love traveling. I've been married for 42 years. And I've learned a lot of habits. She broke me out of a lot of habits. One of them was taking a drive. You know the saying, happy wife, happy life. So when I go into the car, if I don't double time and open the front door, it's going to be a miserable ride. So the cue is taking a ride. The craving is having a pleasant drive. The response is opening the door. And the reward is, darling, you're such a gentleman. Or, that was so romantic. Reward comes later. So folks, over the years I've learned a lot of good habits and bad habits. I go into the prisons. These gentlemen, these men, these women, they've lived a life of crime. And so we go in there with a kind, generous, gentle, compassionate heart, and we just talk to them regularly and try to just break off those bad habits that they have using this methodology, just talking to them and telling them you need to have a plan. You need to be able to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic when you get out. And we practice and we practice. And so by the time they get out, that warm, affectionate relationship is what carries them through, gets them out, and then we maintain this relationship for a full year. So that's what it's all about, building habits, breaking habits, keeping society productive, keeping going. My mentor, Tim Rickey, said, success doesn't require discipline. Success requires habits. I've always learned that about you, my friend. Thank you for teaching me that right from the beginning. Turn your habits into actions and your actions into destiny. Thank you very much.